Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast edition, as always on Thursdays, and today is October 13th, Thursday, October 13th. As always on Thursdays, we are joined by my friend Duane Patterson of the Hugh Hewitt Show, master of the universe, HUGHNIVERSE.com, the troll-free web surfing experience for Hugh Hewitt fans and listeners, and a dynamic feature of our VIP program at Hot Air. He's got a column coming up today, unless he snuck another one in under the wire. It's going to be...
I did not strom you.
Didn't strom me. It will be a look at Mike Pompeo's prospects in the presidential election cycle of 2024, but we've got
the case forward against Mike Pompeo, because he's going to be in the mix too. He's going to run. It's almost 100%. He's going to run, regardless of whether Trump gets in or not.
I've read this, so I already know what it says, but I'll be curious to see what our VIP members think of it, because I actually am not convinced that Pompeo is going to jump in, or that there'll even be room for Pompeo when he does. But I like Pompeo, and even if he doesn't get into the presidential mix, I'm hoping that he finds his way into the next administration somehow. So, stuff to keep in mind. Maybe Secretary of State. Back to Secretary of State. If he doesn't,
he'd make a hell of a VP if nothing else.
He would make a hell of a VP. Yeah, he would make a very good VP. So that's coming up, but we've got lots of stuff to discuss today. Big story today: Biden inflation grows again.
Continues. It's the market. The experts on Wall Street said that it'll be 8.1. It'll be trickling down a little bit. Gas didn't go up that much. Month to month, it'll be down to 0.1. It'll be just kind of a trace. It'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine. What's that? The number came out at 8.2, a little higher, and it was 0.4 month to month, which is higher than it was last month to month, higher than it was the month before month to month. It's going the wrong direction right in front of the election. It's getting worse.
Well, I mean, this is part of what's really interesting about this report is that the same things that have been driving inflation all along, but have been masked by gas prices, showed up again in September. Shelter prices are way up.
Food is way up. Food is through the roof.
It's through the roof. It's absolutely through the roof. And I'm just talking about month on month. Food, fruits and vegetables went up 1.6% month on month.
Right. That's 13%. If you're measuring the month to month as though it were the accelerator in a car, it's a speedometer. It's measuring your rate of speed, right?
Yeah. Well, 1.6% probably would equal out if you're doing the compounding and everything else like that, closer to 15-16%, which is actually where we saw it.
It's real money. It's real money.
It's real money. Real wages dropped again. They went up a couple of months in a row because of falling gas prices, but gas prices were still declining in September. I've been arguing that they were relatively stable, but gasoline actually went down 4.9% month on month last month. And you still have this level of overall inflation going on. It's not just the gas prices.
Right. And now you compound that by October. Thus far, gas prices have gone up every day. So
it's gonna be much worse coming out of October.
It's gonna be worse next month.
Yeah, that report
after the election.
After the election, this is really the last inflation report you're going to see before the election. Well, the PCE index will come out towards the end of the month, so that'll be the last, and that's the one that the Fed really looks at.
That's when the Fed looks at, but the only other measurement that they can hope for a Hail Mary, a long shot pass, is the GDP number at the end of the month.
Yeah, if remember that GDP is expressed in real terms, right? So you get a lot of things about retail sales that are not inflation adjusted. They're only seasonally adjusted. And you have to kind of manually do the inflation adjustment yourself. And those retail numbers haven't been great, right? And they've been in the positive range, but they haven't been great. So, and there's obviously other things go into this, durable goods orders, all sorts of things go into the GDP report, and we haven't seen all of them. You can
But
go,
or but
Fed,
orders have stalled. They've slowed down. There's not as much building going on. There's not as much
right?
construction going on. As far as sales, we're seeing stories now of retailers that are trying to offload inventory to get ahead of the Christmas rush that they're predicting is not going to happen because people can't afford to buy anything anymore. So, that's not portending to a really positive GDP number that we're going to see.
No, and were you on air with Brian Westbury when he made his prediction on what the GDP
I
number?
was, I had
I mean, is
called
that
him
public?
up. It was an off-air conversation, but
Okay,
that said, he was fully prepared to go on the air and defend that position. I haven't had a chance to flesh it out with him, but he says, "You mark my words." He says it's going to be a positive number. It's going to be positive 3%. And I went, "Are you out of your mind?" He said, "Nope, it's going to be positive 3%."
well, I mean, he's more on top of this than I am. I mean, I'm certainly, you
I
know,
can't imagine what sector it would be that's doing it unless
I can't think of it either. Not in real terms. Nominal, possibly, but real terms, no, I don't see that. You got real wages falling. They've been falling all year, with the exception of July and August, when gas prices were dropping so fast that real wages were actually able to move into the positive column. You're not seeing, I don't see that type of economic activity. In fact, if you're taking a look at like demand for energy, it indicates that economic activity is really slowing down. And yes, I understand that the employment numbers are still positive, but they're not great. I mean, they're not bad numbers. 263,000, I think it was for September. That's not a bad number, but it's not it doesn't indicate a big amount of economic activity going on. I am, and besides which, we had two successive negative quarters where we did have more robust hiring going on, and those were both still negative quarters. So I'm not seeing that. I don't understand how you're going to get around that. So I don't think that the Biden administration can count on a big GDP result at the end of October here. It's about a week and a half prior to
and
election day.
and besides that, it just day to day a feel of
Right.
how the economy is. The cake is baked, right? If people are
Right.
going to vote on the economy, their votes already cast, if not physically in their mind. They've already that cake's baked.
Yes. Although, I mean, there's certainly the cake is baked, but it's being spun. So it's like on one of those lazy Susan spinners, right? Because Twitchy had this. I haven't even looked at the segment, but apparently Chris Hayes was saying, what I'm really concerned about is that the Republicans will take over Congress and crash the economy. And I'm thinking to myself, in that argument, which I haven't fully heard Chris's argument yet. So, with that said, that caveat, I'm trying to think of what else they could do that would really crash the economy. I mean, hyperinflation, wiping out retirement funds, from stock markets going into bear territory, possible bubbles in housing that are about ready to pop. What exactly does crash the economy mean in this particular economic context? The issue here isn't that Republicans are going to crash the economy. The issue is that Joe Biden has basically set his, autopilot on, full bore into the brick wall. It's like
Yeah.
it's like one of those self-driving cars. And he keeps insisting that it's, he's writing to an incredible transition, and it's not, he's not writing to an incredible transition. He's writing to a very sudden and ugly stop is where he's writing
He's riding all the way to the scene of the crash.
right. This is,
Um,
yeah. So I mean, you can't spin these inflation numbers. This is not an inch, right? Last month, after the August inflation numbers came out, Joe Biden said, well, inflation went up an inch. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday with Jake Tapper. He said, we might have, I don't think we're going to have a recession, but even if we did, it's only going to be a slight recession.
Look, the guy doesn't know how his own son died. I I
Yeah,
I
that
I
was
do-
that. You
I
talking
don't
about this
believe I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. I mean, number one, I'm not sure he believes a word that comes out of his mouth. Who knows what's going on in that 80-year-old brain of his? But um, look, if he's the one that said we're not going to see inflation to begin with, and now he's telling us we're not going to see a recession. His economic forecasts have not shown to be that prescient.
No, no. This is a guy who really clearly doesn't know what he's doing. In fact, there's a really interesting article from Bloomberg that was out, I think, overnight or early this morning about the plan that the White House wants to put in place to cap Russian oil prices. And now even the White House is saying that is worried that it might backfire now that Biden is completely pissed off Saudi Arabia and OPEC is cutting production. And it's like, you think that maybe Biden's economic policy might backfire? Who would have thought that except for every single one of his other economic policies has already
Exactly.
backfired on us?
And just on that, just on the Saudis, did you see the memo or the document that got released from Saudi Arabia saying that Biden was basically begging them to, yeah, we know you're going to cut, but you have to at least wait until after the midterms before you do it.
Yeah.
Um, and this is the same guy that just told Jake Tapper 2 days ago, "Oh, my trip had nothing. I didn't get rolled by Saudi Arabia. My trip had nothing to do with oil to begin with."
Yeah.
Uh,
Nonsense. Nonsense.
it's just, I mean, it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all BS.
20 pounds of bullshit in a 10-pound bag.
Yep.
I hate to keep saying I told you so, but I've been saying that about Joe Biden since 1987, and I have yet to be proven wrong. Man is 20 pounds of bullshit in a 10-pound bag. Always has been, always will be.
And in 1987, he at least had some wits about him. He had brain
Yeah,
cells
it's
to
much
rub
different.
together.
Yeah, I mean, he was just dumb in 1987. Now he's
Right.
kind of decrepit, and maybe not just kind of, but at any rate,
I mean, when you're going to
whatever you want to chalk it up.
when you're going to Colorado these days to try and help out Michael Bennett, and you talk about the cliffs of the Rio Grande.
Yeah, well, that's classic Joe Biden. But when you say that your son died in Iraq when he actually died of cancer in Walter Reed in Washington D.C. Or in its environs, I'm not sure exactly precisely where Walter Reed is located, but
It's in the Beltway.
it's in the Beltway. Yeah,
It's not in Baghdad.
it's not in Baghdad. No, it's not in Fallujah. I mean, that's pretty bad, and it's sad. It's pretty sad. You know, it's not too dissimilar to what we're seeing in Pennsylvania with John Fetterman. And the media covering for this is not too dissimilar. Did you see the New York Times piece on Joe Biden's folkloric approach to the truth?
Yes. Yes.
Rather than just say the guy is a flat out fabulous, he's a liar, and he will lie 3 times before the truth. Even if the truth benefits him, he'll lie 3 times before finally getting around to it.
The same paper of record that pays full time at least one reporter, Maggie Haberman, and I think there's others that do nothing but wake up and go to bed thinking about how we can catch Donald Trump in a lie and report on it. I mean, that is Maggie Haberman's entire focus is to prove Donald Trump a liar on a daily basis and make a news story and series out of it. They don't have anybody signed to Joe Biden. They just don't. They'll every once in a while it'll be
other than their White House team. Yeah, that's obviously that's a Joe Biden beat, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
not to his serial lies, no.
But outside of an occasional editorial out of the New York Times or something like what we saw on Saturday Night Live over the weekend, I don't even know if you saw that or not. But yeah, Joe Biden even got so egregious that Colin Jost on Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live actually spent about a minute a minute and a half, and just absolutely mocked Joe Biden, and the audience was just roaring in laughter
Well,
at how
Trevor
evil
Noah
he
did it.
was.
Trevor Noah did it the day before he announced that he was leaving the Daily Show, or 2 days before he announced that he was leaving the Daily Show. Yeah, I think you're starting to see some cracks right around this. And part of the reason why is because so much of this is just undeniable. This
Well,
guy's been lying
and
about inflation for over a year and a half, and it's not getting any better. It's getting worse.
well,
I mean, this
and
is, remember the Inflation Reduction Act from 2 months ago, and how this was going to supposedly be their official response to inflation.
well, and this is the foxhole that that the media has been in with since the inception of this administration. Ever since Trump came down the escalator and he became the nominee, the media decided to go all in for the Democrats, and all objectivity be damned. Now that Joe Biden is in, they're trying desperately to maintain the illusion that forget all the problems with Joe Biden. We're going to ignore all of that. We still got to focus on whatever else to try and minimize the damage. Once the damage is done, though, once we get past the midterms, I don't think there's going to be a lot of um, zest within the mainstream media at that point to ride the Joe Biden horse all the way into 24 and think he's going to, carry the Democratic Party across the finish line again. I don't think there's anybody in media that thinks that Joe Biden is going to win the next election,
No,
especially if they get smashed after these midterms. If the midterms go the way that we think it's going to go, and there's more of a wave than what polling is representing, and the numbers shock the Beltway more than what they're prepared to face. I think you're going to see the rats desert the sinking ship, and I think you're going to see more critical pieces on Joe Biden to say get out.
well,
I
yeah. And so let me just posit this really quickly before we move on to our next topic, because I definitely want to get to this next topic. But Jake Tapper moved to prime time, and his big premiere episode was a
was the
primetime
president of the United States in prime
president of
time.
the friggin' United States, and he couldn't even get 1 million viewers to tune in for it.
We
Now,
had more people listening to Hugh's show this morning, and we didn't have. I mean, we had a 3 or 4 people on. We had a couple Senate candidates on, but I mean, we had more people listening today just as a routine order of business than Jake Tapper did in prime time with the president of the United States
right, and I'm not
by
pointing
a
this
long shot.
right, and I'm not pointing this out to beat up on Jake, right?
No,
I'm not pointing it out to beat up on CNN. I mean, you had a president who's famously not done interviews as president. I mean, this is the guy who's been hiding out from one-on-one television interviews for quite a long time.
this was a true exclusive.
It really was. I mean, I joke around about exclusive, that the media definition of exclusive is there wasn't another reporter in the room when I conducted this interview. But I mean, really honestly, Jake, that's a real exclusive, because this guy doesn't give interviews and you see why when on the rare occasions that he does. But nobody tuned in to see this. And I don't think it's because of Jake, and I don't think it's because of CNN. I think nobody gives a crap what Joe Biden has to say anymore. Nobody's buying it anymore.
Joe Biden is going to be in my neck of the woods tomorrow. You know where I live. You know
Yes.
the area in which I live. Irvine Valley College is kind of in our backyard, a little small community college, and Joe Biden is going to be there to do a campaign rally for Katie Porter. Now, Katie Porter won
That girl?
re-elect Batgirl. He's coming out to California to support Batgirl and try to get her across the finish line. This is how bad off it is for Democrats right now in California. In Now, granted, this is a different district because of redistricting. It's a little bit
Right.
harder a little bit harder, but still. 2 years ago, Katie Porter won her reelection by 10 points. Joe Biden carried her district by 11 points. And Scott Baugh, the Republican trying to unseat her, is within margin of error, and she's in the fight of her political life right now, and she's calling in the big guns. Joe Biden has to come to support a D+11 district uh, 2 weeks before an election.
Yeah.
That's not signaling strength.
No, it is not. All right. Next.
And I'm going to go at least try and get as close to it as I can without actually suffering through it. But what I want to see is how big of a crowd he actually draws. I'll bet.
Yeah, probably decent sized crowd, but I mean, it's not going to be a Trump rally. I'll tell you that right
it
now.
it ain't
It
gonna
won't
be.
even be a George W. Bush rally.
Yeah, my guess is there's not going to be a lot of people there.
No, I think you're probably right. We'll look forward to that report the next time we get together. Last topic I think we're going to be able to get to today is the Russian invasion of Ukraine seems to be going really well because their installed governor in Kherson, which is really one of the most strategic positions that they've captured in this war, is now openly on social media asking Moscow to evacuate the city. Vladimir Saldo, who is a Putin crony, right, sent a message out on Telegram this morning, and it wasn't subtle. He was.
It sounds to me like he's not going to. He's not confident about their ability to hold their position.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. I mean, because I think that this guy is just a wee bit concerned about that. Let me read to you what the Telegram message was. I have a post that by the time this goes up, of course, it'll be live. It's not quite live yet. This is what he said. We suggested to all people of the Kherson region to, if they wish, leave to other regions to protect themselves from missile hits. In addressing the leadership of the country, meaning Russia, I ask you to help organize this work. We, the people of the Kherson region, know that Russia does not abandon its own.
Well,
want to bet? They've been
fact
abandoning
check.
their own a lot. Yeah.
Fact check. Yeah, that's not necessarily the case. Look, the real danger here is Ukraine is going to make a move on the rail line, basically the Russian supply. Everything that we talked about this a little bit in the after show last night. Everything
Right.
that Russia does getting to Crimea goes by rail, right? I mean, everything has to. There's no other.
You don't have
The
they
road.
can't do it by air any longer. They can't control the air, and the
They don't
roads
control
in the
the
winter
air.
turn to crap. So the rail is the only reliable, four-season transport, especially in that area, for that area of the country. And Russian doctrine is based on rail resupply. So that's
And
exactly what the Ukrainians know too.
if the Ukrainians take control of the of that rail line by either destroying it or just seizing control of it at a key point, you basically have a whole bunch of Russians that are in Crimea proper that are going to be completely cut off. And I mean, there's nowhere for them to go. They're screwed.
They're absolutely screwed. Yeah, they're screwed. And honestly, I mean, I don't see. First off, there's a number of rail lines that come in from Russia into that part of Ukraine. So there are alternate routes, but the main ones go through Svatova in Luhansk and Kremina, and those are the rail lines that directly support Donetsk. So right now, I mean, the big news last night when we were talking, this is before that thing with Saldo in Kherson, was that we were hearing that there was a push, and it's kind of rumor mill more than solid, solid data on this. But the rumor mill was that there was a push towards Svatova and Kremina, which they've been pushing towards Kremina anyway. So when you look at that, I mean, like I often tell people, yeah, I'm not von Clausewitz, but I can read a map, especially a map with rail lines on it. if they seize Svatova especially, but Kreminna too, not only does that cut the Russians off from being able to resupply those troops, it cuts the troops off from being able to get out, and they're going to end up getting
Exactly.
cut off here, or they're going to have to escape through very circuitous routes back to Russia, and they're going to lose cohesion in doing that, which is dangerous for everybody. When military forces lose cohesion, very bad things happen. And I think that people have to remember that. I mean, the troops themselves start pillaging because they're terrified of what a hostile countryside is going to do to them if they see them out there. And without supplies, without food, without water, they have to get it from someplace, and they've got arms, and they're going to get it from wherever they can find it. So it becomes a very dangerous situation. Generally speaking, you'd like either armies to retreat in order or just surrender. And then the third option is annihilation. And the very last option is they run for the hills. The rout is the very last option you want to see for those reasons.
Right. I think what, and we talked about this last night as well. The key player in this to watch now is Recep Erdogan, because
Yes.
apparently he is the lifeline. He is the one that Putin is reaching out to say, get me the hell out of this. Find me a face-saving way to get me the hell out of this, so we can stop this nonsense. Because
Yes.
deep down, I don't think Vladimir Putin, it's a bluff. I don't think he's going to use a tactical nuke bit. I don't think he's going to go there.
No, I think it was a bluff too. I mean, because that's how there's a lot more to lose, and everybody there knows it by doing that, because basically you've just then provoked a massive response from everybody else, because nobody can let that slide. And they're going to go. Russians know they're going to go after strengths rather than weaknesses, right? That means their surface fleets. It probably means their submarine fleets. That was my suggestion right from the beginning. You take out their boomers right off as soon as they start rattling the nuclear saber, you just take out their boomers to let them know that we're taking you seriously. Right. So that's the escalation that will take place, and Putin knows that, and so this has been a series of bluffs and attempts to bribe his way out of the corner in which he's painted himself. And we talked about this last night. This was the offer to start pumping natural gas back into Europe, and especially Germany, through Nord Stream 2 once those pipelines are repaired. And Putin made that offer yesterday morning. And Germany said, and I quote, "Nice try." And the reason why is because Germany is reorienting their energy policy to avoid being reliant on Russia, not just now, but in the long term.
Yeah.
Russia has basically destroyed its export market with this.
It is going to be a very long time before anybody in Western Europe plays footsie with the Russians again on any economic issue.
Right, but especially on energy.
Especially on energy.
Because Putin used it to hold them hostage. And, that he used it for extortion. Clearly, openly, explicitly. And we've been warning about that for 20 years. I mean, people say, well, Trump warned them. Everybody warned them. Obama warned them about this, maybe not as vociferously and publicly as Trump did, but the Obama administration warned them about being reliant on Russian energy. The Bush administration, I think in the last days of the Bush administration, warned them about this, after the invasion of Georgia in August of 2008. Trump administration as well. I think the Biden administration even said that, we may not sanction Nord Stream 2, but, we're not very pleased about this, and we think you should rethink it. Now everybody is recognizing that we've been right all along, and it was a stupid decision. Right. Now they're still making stupid decisions. They're going on a massive deforestation thing because of the stupid wood pellet exception they have to their carbon emission plan, which was supposed to be for scrap wood. It was supposed to be, you can convert scrap wood. Well, they're just calling forest scrap now and just chopping trees down to make the wood pellets.
Clear cutting to be able
Cutting.
to right to be able to
It's
heat everything. Yeah,
it's
it's
insane.
tremendous.
The New York Times had a great piece on that. I think it was last month or maybe 6 weeks ago. They had a great piece on that. It's like, this is what happens when you pass stupid policies is you get really dumb incentives. And this is maybe among the most perverse incentives that I've seen in energy policy, which of course brings us back to the Biden administration, which is about to go on um, a get into a pissing contest with Saudi Arabia over those production cuts. Yet Democrats trying to pass the NOPEC bill, right? When all you have to do is just increase American oil production and you can flatten those prices out yourself.
I mean, on CNBC, Andrew Ross Sorkin, who is one of their resident lefties, right? I mean, he is a very left of center guy.
Right.
He even went on MSNBC this week with the Morning Joe crew, and he said, "Look, he said, I don't see any way around this. We have got to pump more oil here. If we don't pump more oil here, there's no way out of this morass. There's no way out of this circling the drain we're doing economically as a country.
Yeah.
We have to pump more oil. And
Got
this is
to.
and this it, there's just that's the key to this. If you're worried about the environment, if you're worried about all this other stuff, look, go talk to China, go talk to India. If you get them to commit to something, then fine, we'll talk. But until then, we're less than a third of what their output is as far as contributing to carbon in the atmosphere. So if they're not willing to do anything on their end, and all we're doing is trying to commit economic suicide, count me out, and vote you out as long as we're at it.
That's right.
Um, if you don't want a prolonged recession turning into a depression and having job loss and all the pain and suffering that goes along with it, you have to exploit what you have in abundance. I mean, this could be an American century. There are two things that we can do. If the rest of the world falls apart, there are two things we can do, and everybody's going to be looking to us for help. And that is, we've got enough land and enough resources. We can grow our own food. We can feed ourselves. We don't need to worry about anybody else in the world. We have the capacity. It is a choice for us not to be able to feed ourselves 100%. Paying farmers not to grow stuff. I mean, all the stupid farm policy we have doesn't have to be so. We have the ability to feed ourselves. Number two, we have the energy available to be able to be self-sufficient in energy. We could do that in a relatively short period of time. We could be energy independent and feed ourselves. Name another country in the world, a major country in the world that can do that. Great Britain can't do that.
Nope. Nope.
Most of the countries in Europe can't do. In fact, I can't think of one European country that actually can do that, can feed itself and provide its own energy.
Nope. I agree. Well, we're just about out of time, but I do have to bring up one more topic.
Yep.
I finally found one reason to move back to California, Duane. And you know how I feel about moving back to California. I finally found a reason to move back to California.
Okay. What's the? I gotta see what the punchline is. Okay, tell me what's the punchline.
Did you see the clip from the Rams 49ers game where Bobby Wagner leveled that dipstick
Oh yes.
device? Yes.
And
Listen,
the protester who was actually carrying around an incendiary device
right.
while he was protesting got clocked. I mean, just clocked.
It was a thing of beauty. Decleated the guy.
Literally knocked him out of his shoes. And the poor protester has a concussion. So now that he has a concussion,
and a burn from his dangerous incendiary device that he himself brought on the field.
Correct.
Right?
And now that he's done that, because he's in the Golden State, he has legal representation who is discussing his legal options of who he might sue for damages he incurred from an unnecessary concussion given by the player. They're
They
trying to
filed a
decide.
police report against Bobby Wagner. They actually filed a police report against Bobby Wagner. Even in San Francisco, the police are going to be kidding me.
And
So here's my proposition, Duane. Here's my proposition. If you can guarantee me a seat on that jury, I will move back to California. But you got to guarantee me a seat on that jury, and not just before voir dire. I want to be on the trial jury. If I can be guaranteed that, I will move back to California. It will be worth all the extra taxes and costs and regulations.
just for the entertainment value alone.
Oh my God, it'd be so much fun being on that jury. And then coming back and telling the guy to go pound sand.
Go
ahead.
Who is the lawyer that takes that case and thinks he's got a case to make?
Oh, I think the lawyer realizes he doesn't have a case to make. This is a guy who wants I think it's actually a she. I think she wants her name in the papers. And look, everybody deserves representation. If he's an idiot and he wants to spend money on an attorney, far be it from her to deny him that right. I'm totally fine with that. I don't think for a minute that she thinks she's going to get anything out of it.
I understand
other than
that.
publicity.
But I mean, there should be a bar, a threshold, that if the case is that absurd and it's that silly and that stupid, and I don't know where to set that bar or how to measure that bar, but there should be a bar that if a case is that stump stupid of a case to bring, you should lose your license.
I would not have an issue with that, or at least face some sort of professional sanction, right? But
yes,
but we will see. We will see.
So we know that there should be the Sidney Pollack standard. The Sidney Powell standard. Yes,
Sidney Powell. Yeah. All right. So that's coming up in court sometime. Maybe I doubt that it will, but perhaps it will be coming up in court in San Francisco or its environs sometime in the.
I'm not thinking it's going
to long-term future.
Yeah, I'm not thinking it's going to make a trial. I'm thinking a judge somewhere along the way is going to say, "What?
Are you kidding me?"
and throw it out before it ever gets anywhere.
So, but we do know what's coming up on tomorrow's Hugh Hewitt show, do we not, Duane?
I think one of us might. Actually,
I don't know if either one of us actually does, but yeah,
I think Hugh's going to be in Detroit tomorrow. He's doing the first of 4 or 5 different Salem talker events. You kind of a get out the vote thing where he'll go from station to station and talk to people and trying to rally the troops to make sure we get out to vote. The Michigan governor's race is closing rapidly. That one could be very interesting too, especially if the red wave is bigger than we think it is. So he's going to be in Detroit tomorrow. So we got this guy from Texas, former Minnesotan from now in Texas to fill in for us tomorrow. So
just some dude.
It only makes sense to have the boss come in and be the boss for the Hugh Hewitt show for the day too.
Yeah, we don't. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll also be filling in next Friday as well. So both this Friday and next Friday, I'll be filling in for Hugh. It'll be the first time I've done that since taking over as managing editor at Hot Air. So it'll also be interesting to see how I juggle the workload. But
it'll be easy. Yeah, we'll muddle through. I'll have some cuts, and we'll find a way to make it through.
Well, hopefully we're going to get some guests. It's really nice because they always say, "Gee, who would you like to speak to?" While you're guest hosting, and I come up with this ridiculous list of people that I want to talk to. And the booker goes, "Aren't you cute?"
but then darned if some of them don't come through.
Some of them do show up, actually, and I thought my list this week was actually kind of reasonable, so we'll see.
But no, we're at the point now where it's all economics and it's all politics. I mean, from here on out, you're going to get a new ad every day from somewhere. You're going to get some some video clips from a debate held somewhere where somebody went off on somebody else. I mean,
This is easy radio. Sorry, but if there is such a thing as easy radio, this month is easy radio, especially
right.
because Duane Patterson is the producer of that show, and he's always got great stuff lined up, man.
I mean,
it's
I had 30 clips. I besides the 20 I had for last night, I think you and I only used 10 or 15 of them. I had 30 clips I gave you this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about a lot of things tomorrow morning. So that starts at 6 a.m. Eastern time, 5 a.m. in God's time zone, 3 a.m. on the left coast. And if you're a member of the universe, which you should be by now, HUGHNIBERSE.com, you can watch the show live. I mean, we'll have the Skype connection going. You'll see me live. You'll see this whole environment live tomorrow morning. I might clean the desk up just a tiny bit though. Maybe, I don't know. But if you're not a member of the universe, you're gonna have to listen to it on the AM radio dial, and you won't see my face, which I don't know. Maybe that's a plus. Maybe that's not a selling feature anyway. But Duane, what should people do if they can't find it on the AM radio dial?
Well, I think you go to a GM's office at a radio station where we should be on, and you bring Vladimir Putin. You ask for an extraction.
That's actually a pretty good strategy. I was going to say, I can see the Rio Grande cliffs from your office or something like that, but I think yours was better. So we're going to leave it at that. Duane Patterson at Radio Blogger on Twitter, by the way. His VIP post is coming up at 12:40 Eastern time at Hot Air, so be sure to check that out. Duane, we'll talk tomorrow, and then we'll talk again here next week.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, guys.
All right, stay tuned for one last message coming from the Ed Morrissey Show after this. Thank you for watching or listening to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and through the Town Hall Media Player, or you can just come to hotair.com and watch my podcast for free. However, I'd also love to have you join us as members of our VIP and VIP Gold programs. That allows us to defeat the stranglehold that big tech has on information and get you the best information that we possibly can. Plus, we have a lot of new value-added content coming to us from Town Hall Media stars and my good friend Adam Baldwin. He and I are doing the video series, The Amiable Skeptics. It's 1 hour of discussion a week, strictly for our VIP and VIP Gold members. Plus, we have our VIP Gold chat with Kem Edwards every Wednesday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. We'd love to have you as members. Be sure to join up. Thanks again for watching the Ed Morrissey Show podcast.